Hey everyone, it's Sam here, and today I've got some new storage to show you. So for anybody new, or if you've missed this tutorial that I done, it's got to be over a year ago now, this was my big desk organizer. It's all made out of grey board, don't need any dies, it's all made from scratch, and I love it. I just wanted something really bespoke that could sit on my desk with everything that I needed. But since moving and just the way I craft, I thought, I still want this concept, but I need it just a little bit smaller with the real essentials. So let me introduce you to the little sister. It's very, very cute, and it is exactly the same size as this one here. So you can see the angle on this one. If you sit them side by side, they perfectly match up. So you could stick them together or just sit them like I have. Obviously mine are decorated slightly differently and I'm not going to have mine together, but you could make two of these, have one at the other end. Maybe you've got a very long desk and you just like to have this kind of organisation all the way along. What you'll see I've changed on this one's I've got a little post-it note area. I do use these a lot more than I do notebooks and things. And it's actually now a good few weeks, maybe even months since I made this that I'm doing the intro. And this has been working brilliantly. So it's very easy to do. I've broken down all of the steps and it's pretty forgiving as well. So you don't need to worry about the real detail parts. You're never going to notice those. So let's get started. So I've already cut down all of my pieces. So I'm using a 2mm grey board, chipboard. I know it's called different things in different parts of the world. You can also use like a cereal pack, but you might want to like stick a couple of layers together. So like I showed at the start, this is an extension of a previous storage that I've made. So you can stick it onto that existing one if you've made that one, or it will work as a nice standalone, which is what I want it for. So for the base, I would suggest you grab a pen so you can write on all of the pieces. So I'm using a trimmer and I've just got an older blade in here. Don't throw them away when they don't cut your cardstock anymore. Keep them because they will continue to cut grey board really well. So I've cut this one down to, this is 8 1/4 by 7. So you've got your base piece there. So I'm just going to write on that one. Then you've got your front panel. So this is a piece of 8 1/4 by 1 inch. Then for the back, I've got this piece here, which is 4 3/4 by 8 1/4. And then you'll need two pieces. These are the sides, which are 4 3/4 by 7 1/4. So side. Now this piece that you cut out is optional. You could stick this even onto the front panel and keep it as the full rectangle. Once this is put together, you can divide yours up however you want. If you do want it though to extend from the other one that I made, then you want to follow these measurements next. So you want it in this orientation so that you have the 7 1/4 length and then the 5 3/4 height. Come in from the top left, 1 3/4 and just mark, okay? And then come up from the bottom right hand corner here, 1 inch. And come in along the bottom here, 1 5/8. From that 1 5/8, you then want to come up 1 1/2 and put a little marker there. And then you just want to join from that marker to that marker up to that marker. And it will give you the same shape that will sit perfectly next to the older storage that I've made. Now to cut this, I'm going to use my trimmer again. And then I'm just going to draw around the other side and then again use that in my trimmer. So I'm just going to lay this one in the track there. So I'm just making sure it's nice and straight through the middle here, and then just bring that up. In fact, I'll start from this end, bring it down, and then I'm just going to go this way just to line that up, make sure, yeah, it's pretty much there. I'm just going to fold it out a little bit so I can see the shape on the back here, and then I can just draw that in. Again, I'm being pretty relaxed with this, just trying to show everyone that you don't need to make it too difficult and precise. Your paper or your pattern papers are going to hide a lot of things, so don't worry. And then again that one, and then just give that a little wiggle and it's come away. Now I've got a little bit there where I was probably off. This is the side that I want to make sure is perfect, so I'm just going to go in now with my scissors and just remove there. Okay, and then I'm going to sit this one now over the top of my other piece. Just draw around it and then just cut that one out again. So next we can start assembling this now. It's best to use a strong paper, so I'm going to use 150 GSM paper. It's the paper actually I use for a lot of my envelope making. Copy paper, 100 GSM will be okay, but by the time you add your glue it might soften it too much. It will probably tear more, so go for something around 150 GSM. So I've just got some sheets of 12 by 12 here, and these are just colours that I don't particularly like, I don't use. So I'm going to use the reverse side because it's white. I'm just going to cut some 1-inch strips. Don't need to score these or anything, and we can trim them once we start sticking them on. Okay, I've cut plenty of strips there for now. I'm going to use the construction glue for all of this because it's just going to add even more strength, even though it's strong with the grey board. Having that adhesive, which will dry solid as well, is just going to help even more. So you want your base piece. All of these are going to stick around the edges. You're not sticking anything on top of the base. It's always on the side of the base. So with that in mind, first of all, I'm going to stick down the back panel. Now, if you've made mini albums before, if you like to make little books and things like that, I'm going to be kind of assembling this in a similar way. So I'm just going to lay this down on my grid. And the gap I'm leaving is the same 2mm the thickness of this grey board. Okay. In fact, I'll stick that over the top. So I'm going to take this piece here. Like I said, I'm going to trim it once it's on there. I'm just going to run my glue all down here. And I want to stick half of the base piece onto this and then half of the back, leaving that little 2mm gap. Once this is dry, by leaving that gap, it's going to allow me to be able to bring this up and it sit next to this base piece. Remember, you're not sticking it on top, you want it to sit next to it. So just leave that for a minute. Okay, so I've just added some glue to the ends. I'm just going to run some glue down through the middle there. And I'm just going to fold over each one of these. I'll just rip that one a little bit. But just fold that one over and again fold that one over. Okay, and then bring this up. Remember, you want the back panel to sit next to the base. And just refold these kind of pieces in. Grab your bone folder. You'll find you'll use this a lot for this project because it will allow you to really get in there, spread out all that glue. Okay, so now you might just have to pop something behind there just to hold that up for a minute. This one now is going to sit next to these two pieces, and you need to make sure that you've got a little bit overhanging because that is then for your front panel to connect to. You see now that all lines up, so it should be nice and flush with the back here and then also with the side. And we're going to start to assemble it the same way, so actually I'll pop that there. It will start to hold itself soon. Add the glue kind of in the middle section. Now I can sit this one on that one half, like so. Take the side one, I'm going to make sure it's lined right up with the back. Should overhang slightly with the front, which it does, like so. Again, I've got that gap in the middle. Just give that a minute to grab. If you want, you can start doing the other side, which I may well do actually. And then again, I'm just going to run some glue down in that gap. Just cover the ends here. I'm also going to run some glue just along here. And then bring this all up. And just hold that in place for the minute. Don't worry about the paper tabs either side here. We'll stick those all down in a minute. For now, we just want to focus on getting this stuck, or at least tacked together. Okay, so that one is holding itself really nicely. And then I'm just going to repeat again the same on here. So just run the glue down that gap and then also just along the side there. The reason why some of this has got white on it is because I actually use the backs of a lot of like watercolor packs, paper packs, things like that. It's really, really strong. And bring that all up, make sure it's sitting along the side. And just pinch that all together. If you've got any pegs, little clamps, things like that, they'll probably be quite handy to use as well. Okay, I'm just lying it on the side there, each way, just so I can really apply some pressure, make sure that's all secure. If if you just cut or just snip down one side there, it doesn't matter which one, but then you can bring it up and fold it around. In fact, did I put glue on there? I don't think I did put the glue on the ends. No, that would help Sam. So just add that there. Okay, so now we've created that nice strong hinge. Make sure you've got a nice right angle. Things like that are going to really, you'll notice more if you're attaching it or, you know, sitting it next to the old storage. If you've not got that one, if it's a little bit out, it's not going to matter. And then again, just flip this side over and just snip to the back there. Whatever's easiest for you. I snipped the wrong one there. So you want to snip that one. That's now going to come off, but that doesn't matter because I can just bring that around. Okay, so you should now have something like this. Okay, and now for the front panel, you can do exactly the same again. So I've got my strip here. I'm going to sit that now over half and then take the other piece, sit that in again, leaving your same kind of border. Let that all stick for a minute. Okay, so now before we fold it up, just snip down the sides of these front pieces and just stick them onto that piece there. Make sure you've got glue in this part so it can stick to the sides of the card grey board there. And then again, just run the glue through the gap there. And again, and this, remember, has got to sit next to the base, not on top. So I'm just bringing that up. And now I can bring that one around. Now I'm just going to snip down to that piece there, and then I can bring that up. We'll trim this all away in a minute. I'm just going to pull that one around and just snip down into these pieces just to tidy them up, bring them around. The more strength you've got, the better. So if it doubles up, don't worry. I'm just going to pinch and push all this together now until that glue's grabbed. I'm just going to snip off a little bit of the tops of these pieces of paper. Still want enough to be able to go inside, but we'll be tidying all that up in a bit. And then I'm just going to cut down on the fold just to the top. Just want to be able to fold this all in, that's all. Now you'll probably find there's glue already on there, but I'm just going to bring these in. I'll just bring this one up so you can see what I've done there. See, I've just folded it around inside. We'll be covering all these edges in a minute with the rest of the strips. So it's nice then when we go to add our pattern paper. Okay, so that is now starting to come together really nicely. Now we want to start sealing all of the other joins. So just take more of your strips, fold them in half. I want the white side visible. And I'm going to pop this one in here. I'm going to leave a little bit over the top, about an inch, so I can fold it back over. Not only is this going to add strength, but it's going to neaten it all. And it just means when we go to add the pattern paper, you don't have to worry then about getting the paper right up to the edges. You can have a little bit of a gap because you'll just see bits of this white coming through, so it can frame your pattern paper as well. Pop it on its side again, use your bone folder and really get it in. The glue will go into any little gaps that there are, so that's again just going to make everything much stronger, like so. And then again I'm going to snip down through the fold just like I did on the front pieces and then fold those over. Just repeat that on the other side, repeat it inside here. Those you'll probably have to just measure and just cut. The outside's already done. I'd go back over this side here. Again, I want to make sure the white's out, but imagine that's the white side, like so. And then I'll show you what we'll do with these back pieces in a minute. Okay, so all the inside sides are sealed. Just got these two outer ones, but before I do them, I want to do the back so I can fold those pieces over and then do the side ones. So just two more strips again. Grab your glue. I'm going to lay that down so it's flush with the bottom. Just let that grab. Whilst that's just drying, I'm going to stick the other one on the other end. Now I'm not going to cut this now. I'm going to fold it into here and really push it down into the cracks there. Get your bone folder, really crease that, burnish it really hard. In fact, if I put it this way, it's a bit easier. Right into the corners there, and then on the top you can just kind of flatten it out. You see there, you get a really nice finish on the corner. So again, I'll just show you on this one, just make sure you've covered it all in glue. Pull it right in, and then to cover the sides here, I'll just add a normal one along the back there. If you fold again one of your strips, just added some glue there. I'm going to start at the top. I'm not going to go right up into the corner, just bring it down a little bit. And then when I get to that point here, just put a little marker. If you just take your scissors and just snip across each side, don't join, don't cut right across. Okay, just enough to create a hinge. And now I can just fold that down all the way down. You can have a slight angle, so where it starts to bend again, just snip into it again, not right across, and then again on that join till you get to the very end. Okay, so you have something like that. Again, just spread that all out and repeat it on the other side. Okay, so that is now all ready for me to start adding all of the compartments to it. So that is optional because the width of this is just over 8 inches. You could have some 8-inch paper pads in here. You know, you might want to have like bottles of glue and things like that in here. You might just want to add one simple divider through the middle. This next step is completely customizable. I'm going to be showing you what I'm going to be using and how I'm going to lay it out. But once you see how it's all put together, it's really easy to change so it fits, you know, the things that you have. So I'm going to get all those prepared next, and then I'll be back to show you how to add them. So I've just been placing the essential pieces that I have found that I always need and I go to. I want those to all be in here. The back is going to be similar still to the original desk organizer, and I'm going to have my rulers and scissors. The front here I want for my glue, and I think I'm going to have some tape, rolls of tape. So if I just grab things like this one here, that sits in there perfectly with the 2 glues. They're the only 2 I always go to, so I know that's all I need. In the front here I go to these bottles a lot. I've got one with water and one with the rubbing alcohol, so they will both sit in there nicely. And then this, I'm still undecided. I use it all the time. It's what I keep my anti-static powder in, but it is nice in its little case on its own. But like I said at the start, I don't want to have lots of little things on my desk. I just want it all in one unit that I can easily move if I need to. So that does sit in there nicely, but I've also got my tape dispenser here, which I use daily. So I would like that to fit in there, but I also want to have a post-it note section. This is one of the main things because I am always writing little reminders, little notes. I've got notebooks coming out my ears, but they just don't seem to work. Post-it notes or little bits of paper like this work for me. So that's why I want to have them in there. And then obviously I'll have a couple of pens in here as well. So I could maybe have those all in one together. Then would that fit? See, that won't fit. So I think it's just going to be the bottles in the middle. And then I can have that one, and maybe, oh, there you go. That sits sideways. That would work. Maybe I'll have it at the back, so that's a bit nicer. I could, to be honest as well, that could just sit on top of the post-it notes. But the idea is that everything's kind of got a home. But that would work. And I guess these are the standard size post-it notes. I mean, I've had these. I don't think they change too much. These are 3.5 squared, so that is to fit that size. So if you want to do a similar layout to what I've got here, then you're going to want these sizes. So for the back main section there, this is a piece of 4 3/4. It's slightly just under, just take a little bit off that height by 8 1/4. And this will line up with the point here, okay? That's where I will line that up. Again, it will then sit nicely with the older one. The dividers then to go inside here. So if you see, again, I think I need to cut a little bit off of these. They're coming just a little bit proud there from that, although that one's not. So you might have to tweak a few bits. These, how many of these you have is up to you. I've got 4, because what I did find is if you have too much of a gap, say you just had one, am I in shot? Just about. If you just have one and you put scissors in there, the scissors will really kind of like, well, I'll show you, give you an example. I've got these ones here. They really kind of, they kind of slide down. I like things really upright. So if I then pop, so if I did a smaller gap in this corner here, see, they just stand up much neater. And it puts less pressure as well on these dividers. So I've got 4 of these pieces, and these are 1.5 by 4 3/4. But again, you might have to take a little bit off of the height. So that's all of the back panels. Then for the next panel, so this is going to go down like so. And this one here is 3 1/4 by that same 8 1/4. And then I've got these ones which are angled, and I've got 3 of these ones. These all measure 1.5 again by 4 3/4, but you want to cut across to give you your slope that matches here. So on the other side, you want to come up 3 1/4 inches and mark, and just put a pen mark, and then from that pen mark just cut across. And just do that on as many as you want. You might want 5, 6, you might want to have lots of tiny little compartments. It's entirely up to you. And then for these ones here, I actually cut these from the pieces that I cut off from the side of this. So again, try not to waste too much. So these here are 3 3/4 by 3 1/4. You want to, along the 3 3/4 side, you want to come up 1 inch. And then you want to come in here from this side 1 1/4, so just down here, mark a little pen mark, and then come up 1 3/8, so put a little mark there, and then draw a line or cut from there to there, and then right up to the point. It's just the same as you've done this one really. And again, I've got 2 of those, so just draw around the other one. You're going to stick this all in the same way. I'll show you some of the back one here, but the rest of it's all the same as how we put this together. So I'm going to cut myself a few more of those 1 inch strips of the paper. Okay, so with the main back piece, I've just popped 2 of the strips so they come out like this. So 1/2 is stuck to that side on the fold, and then another one stuck to that side. So you've got this hinge. You want to now do the same on the sides as well. So we're going to put this all in together. So now I've got these wings on all 3 sides, but leave the top. You're going to add glue to all of the ones. You want to make sure they're all folded out, and then you're going to add glue to them all, but just check that it's all going to slide in. And you're lining this one up with this angle here. Now you do need to make sure it goes down obviously straight, so just get your glue on, get it in place, and then you can kind of move it around, because I won't get mine perfect first time, so that's why it's always good to use a liquid glue. All the base, make sure you've covered the grey board part as well. Again, don't worry about any glue going down the side, you're going to be covering all this. But try and slide it down like where you want it to go. So I'm just looking down here to make sure that this is running, you know, nice and straight. And I can also see the gap between this white piece and that one is pretty much the same as well. Just go this side. I can just check there. That all looks pretty straight. Remember, it's homemade, so don't worry if there's, you know, a few wonky bits and stuff. It's, see, it's all going to come together fine. And again, and then you can just fold that piece over. It's all just going to add to the strength. Or you can trim it off, it's up to you. Okay, and now you want to do the same with this one. You want this one here, and you just want to pull it forward until it meets the top of this sloped part. That's where it's going to be positioned. So you're looking at about 1 5/8 from this one, and the gap between this one's 1 5/8 as well, so that's fine. And that, again, I've worked that around the size of my glue bottle. If If you've got a bigger glue bottle, then bring it forward more, but you might have to trim then the height from this one. You're going to attach that exactly the same way as you've attached this one. I need to add white piece. I'll add a piece of trim all the way along that one there. And then you're going to stick your dividers in the same way. So you're going to add a little tab, you know, the wings on all 3 sides again, slide them in, mark them where you want, and then just put a little bit of trim over the top. All of these is all the same way. Again, the same with this piece here. That's going to slot in there. In fact, that comes back a little bit further. I might have to just check the width of that one because I don't know. Yeah, my bottle's not going to fit. So I think I might reduce that a little bit. But again, and then just cover it the same way. Everything is the same. So I'm going to get that all stuck down, all sealed on the edges, and then I can start adding the pattern paper. Okay, so I must confess it's now a few weeks. I think it's maybe even close to 2 months since I finished making this, and I forgot to do the intro and the outro. And I've also added all of the pattern paper because you don't need to see me stick all this down, but you can see just by adding the pattern paper how lovely this looks and how much it just transforms everything. I haven't done right inside there. I'm never looking it down that way, but if you want to, you can. But you can see the lovely papers here all around the side. I may in time add another fun sentiment along here. I've added this one here and I'll show you that in a moment, but I just wanted you to see it like it is. I'm going to take some photos as well so it can go up on my blog like that, but I have been using this, so there are a few marks there where I've been putting my glue bottle in. You can see there's a few little bits of dust and stuff inside there as well, but it's being used and it's working just as I wanted it to. I'm really happy. So I'm not going to give you the measurements for every single compartment because no doubt everybody's is going to be kind of different. All I did to get my measurements is just pop your ruler in like so, and then I just took 1/4 of an inch off what it is. So this is 3 1/4, so I cut a piece of 3 by 2 7/8. Again, put the ruler down here, so this is 4 3/4 high, so I cut a piece of 4 1/2, and then this is 4, so it was by 3 3/4. Just take 1/4 of an inch off. For the big side pieces here, these are actually the full width, so 7 1/4, and that is by 4 3/4. And this is the paper pad that I used here, so it's my Crafty Patterns. And I'll just take one of the sheets. All I did was lay it down. Again, I'm making this really easy. I don't want to be, you know, worrying too much about measurements, and just sit this over the top. You could stick it on if you wanted to this way and then just cut around it. But I just drew around this with a pencil and then I just cut it out. So don't worry about getting your ruler and all that kind of stuff. It's just much easier doing it that way. And then the sentiment come from this one here, the Made to Surprise Sewing, Paper Crafting and More stamp set. So it was this one. I brought it up a bit higher so that I could add my post-it notes. So I've just got this block here, mix of colours, but I thought I'd pull out like the greens, the pinks and the yellows there that tie in really nicely with the blending brush paper, and then just pop that in. And like I said, it's working so well for me. You could also use the Paper Crafting Fun stamp set, which has got all of these lovely images of all the different tools, but you're going to see that being used a bit more in some of the other projects. And I've also used the shrink plastic as well, and I've created these very small little images, and I'm going to be using these to decorate some of the other storage. Even the sentiment, that's that same sentiment, and I've made this tiny little version here, Craftaholic with no plans of recovery, and the words just turn out perfectly. I have a separate video showing how I did these, so if it's something you want to try and you've not seen before, then check it out. But I mean, how cute's those tiny little blending brushes? Very sweet. So now I can just start putting everything else in. So I've got my quick grab glue, rubbing alcohol, water, then I've got my anti-static pad or pillow, I've got the glue erasers, do use that. I've got my big metal ruler. I'm going to have a smaller ruler, both of my burnishing tools, and this. I use this a lot along with my hoover because that could also go on there, but I keep this on my shelf just next to me, so I don't need to worry too much about having that at hand. Then I've got my 3 main scissors that I use, and those are going to go in the back. So you see just how upright they are. It's just so much, yeah, so much better. I think in here I'm actually going to add the crocodile because I do use this quite a bit, especially when I'm doing my 3D makes. I usually pull out the big bikes that's on the shelf, and this is usually in the drawer, but this is actually smaller and yeah, handy. So I'm going to keep that there, but I could obviously change that up later on if I wanted to. And then I'm going to add, I think, my scissors to this one, and maybe my pokey tools. Pencils. I need a couple of pencils and pens. I like my fine liners because I use them also for filling out any detail on my stamps. So yeah, I'll keep those in there. Cutting knives, I do use those a lot, so I think we'll put the cutting knives in that one. And my pickup tool I use pretty much daily. I use my gel pens, that can go in there. This is another good stylus that I use when I'm scoring freehand and I don't need the scoreboard. So that's another one I use a lot. Oh, and then I've got my tweezers, which I'm going to have over like so. Tape's just going to stay on top of there. And then in here I've got my glue. So I'll keep that one. And my accent glaze will go in the other part. Paintbrush, I use that just to kind of sometimes just brush away any little bits of embossing powder when I'm doing heat embossing. So that can stay in there. I don't need all of those pens in there. I think that's probably it. So I hope you've enjoyed this storage idea from me today, and that you can personalize it. You know, you can change this up to suit, like I said, the tools and whatever it may be that you want to put in it. So you can find all the products that I've used today over on the Craft Stash website. I will link the grey board that I've used in the past because I brought big A3 sheets from Amazon, which I think I'm going to probably get more of. But if there's any on Craft Stash, I'll link them as well. As long as it's 2mm, then it's going to be exact, you know, to what I've used. But foam board, you can, like I said, use the cereal packs and stuff like that as well. And look on the back of your paper pads, because the cardstock's generally pretty strong on most of those. Make sure you subscribe to my channel as well, because that way you won't miss out on any future projects. And check out my storage boxes. I'll have that playlist popping up here and you might want to check that out next. See you all again soon. Bye.